In today's video, we're going to discuss why the DAX, or the German 40, is probably the best asset for the opening range breakout. So if you know our bots in general, the opening range breakout has always been almost a hallmark of our portfolio for a long period of time. However, the DAX is really, I find, almost an underutilized asset for this type of strategy, and it's almost the perfect candidate for it. And today, with the help of TradingView, I want to show you guys why exactly that's the case. And really, it's quite simple. Because the main session for the DAX is a European session, so Frankfurt Open, it happens a lot earlier in the day than the New York session, for instance. So because of this, you can get some really high risk reward trades because it tends to fly as soon as Frankfurt opens. This would be a great example of this. Like if you were to look at a US-based equity indice, quite often, because New York session is the last session of the day, you usually have some movement in Asian session, some additional movement in the European sessions, and then you have a New York session. So there's quite a bit of choppiness that happens earlier on in the day, which makes it a little bit less clean of price action. The main benefit of the DAX is because you have the session happening fairly soon and it's not as widely traded in Tokyo just because there's a major European focus on it. You have these really clean, violent moves that often happen at the start of Frankfurt Open. So here we can see it's a pre-market range and then a huge impulse down. Same thing here. We did have a little bit more price action in the morning, but then still a very violent move come Frankfurt Open. These blue lines correspond to the 10 a.m. platform time, which is 9 a.m. Frankfurt time, so right when the Frankfurt Stock Exchange is open. And you can see, like, obviously it's not perfect, but most days we have some pretty violent explosions every time that 10 a.m. candle happens. And this is amazing because it gives us the ability to really get a super high risk reward trade because we can often enter with a stop loss which is a little bit higher than the pre-market sessions and then really just capture that impulse off the open. We can see similar things here like 10, I believe this one is a downward one. Here we have 10, it's a bit more flat. So once again, not perfect, but you get these really big explosive moves. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to test this along with another super valid options data point, which I've been using behind our German longbow strategy. So one interesting point of DAX is that you have these really strong impulses. But another really interesting point is it has a really powerful relationship with options. So what I do for a couple of our longbow bots is I'm always using Eurex options data. And this shows us essentially what the put call ratio is on given days of when the DAX is trading. And specifically what we can do is the volume put call ratio tells us the total amount of puts over the total amount of calls traded on a prior day. And the lower this number is, the more bullish the market is, because it means that there's more bullish bets, calls, being traded on the prior day relative to bearish bets. So something I really wanted to test is what happens if we take these numbers here, the put call ratios, and we combine them with this really interesting phenomenon that we have this massive surge at the open for the DAX. What happens and why is this so perfect? I did that and I actually made a new expert advisor, which is the German Orb Fund, which effectively combines the two. And then we simply back tested it using every tick based on real ticks from 2022 until today. And as you guys can see, it's a pretty good expert advisor. Effectively, what we can see here, granted the data quality is not amazing here, so I also tested it on DarwinX. We have around a 7.64% drawdown, and we're having around a 250% rate of return. So we're able to potentially juice this a bit and have even more impressive metrics depending on what it is we're going for. But we can look at a few examples here. Like this was a day on let's pick a more recent day so we can see. The options data, that's a bad one. Let's pick the 29th of July. So on the 29th, we would have gone here and taken the options data from the 28th because that was the prior day. We would have seen, okay, 1.356 is a reasonably bullish put call ratio because generally speaking on the DAX, we do usually have a bias towards higher put call ratios. Like anything under 2 is usually pretty bullish just because there's more puts which are generally traded than calls. So if we were to combine this with the fact that we now had this big push up, clearly this was a very successful trade. And let's see if we can find ourselves a successful short as well. So this would have been here on the 1st of July. So then this would have been, let's see if we can find that, the 31st right here. This was 1.2, oh no, sorry, that's the wrong date. That's July. We would need June. Okay, so I can't get it on this website. I'd have to go and check historical data. But you guys can see the point. Because we have this unique price action, and we couple that with a very, very strong fundamental data point in put-call ratios, we're able to develop an extremely strong expert advisor based on this strategy. So this is actually a new EA which is being made available to some of our members who've already purchased the prop bundle if they're looking to kind of upgrade it to be used for personal capital. So if you are in the prop bundle, reach out to me and we can discuss this in detail. But overall, I think it's a very interesting type of strategy, and I think it can be used to really give some excellent results. And at the same time, give a nice smoothing out of the general portfolio because you're using a bit of a different trigger. So anyway, guys, hope you found this video interesting. I certainly found it interesting to make this bot because there's definitely something really exciting here. And yeah, wish you a wonderful day. Bye-bye.